Hi, everyone. Welcome.
Hi.
Hello, how are you?
Hi.
Good. I am so excited to talk to you guys today because this is one of my favorite topics. We're going to be talking about turning a dream into a reality. So, as you guys come in, I want to let you know that we're going to be discussing the conversation for 30 minutes, and then 10 minutes at the end, we're going to do a Q&A. So, feel free to drop any comments you have, any questions in the chat as we're talking, and we're gonna try and get everyone's questions answered. So yeah, I guess we can jump right into it. Of course, I want to let you guys know that you can follow Glam Hive and tag us at Glam Hive Live. Also, we have to thank Mary Kay, our sponsors. I don't know if you guys knew, but Mary Kay Ash, the founder of Mary Kay, was also an innovator and a trailblazer, just like Claire, Teza, and Kerry. So I'm so excited to get started and to talk to you guys. So first, I guess we'll start and open up with some introductions. So we can start with Claire.
Yes, hello everyone. It is so wonderful to be here. My name is Claire Somers. I'm the editor-in-chief of Fashion Bomb Daily and CEO of Fashion Bomb Daily Shop. In case you're not following either of those, you definitely should start now. But we are largely regarded as the #1 online destination for multicultural fashion. We have everything from street style to fashion shows to a lot of celebrity style every day from a multicultural and diverse point of view. So that's me.
And Teza.
Yeah. Hi, guys. I'm Teza, and I'm so excited to be here today with these amazing women. I'm the founder and CEO of the Teza brand, and it's a fashion, art, and lifestyle brand. We're known for, our editing app and our home goods, and really just, taking down the walls of what being an artist is and, inspiring everyone to find their inner artist.
And Kerry.
Hi, my name is Kerry Colbert, and I run a venture capital firm, and we invest in female-founded companies and try to help them accelerate their path to success. And we are very fortunate to be involved with Glam Hive and an investor in Glam Hive. Love what Stephanie's doing for the stylish community here, and happy to be a part of it.
Awesome. And then I forgot to introduce myself, everyone. My name is Alexis Bennett. I am the commerce writer at Vogue, and that pretty much means I spend my day shopping online, and and I get to do fun things like this. So let's hop right into it. So Claire, I want to ask you, what was the first step that you took to turn your dream into a reality?
Yes, so I've always loved fashion, always wanted to work in fashion magazines, but the path into the world of fashion wasn't always obvious to me. I started off as a researcher reporter at a home magazine in like the most odd kind of career situation. It was not fashion at all. And I would ask around, ask if I could write fashion at this magazine. And I was told for whatever reason that fashion wasn't for me. So my first step to turning my dream into reality was to write it down. And one of my favorite phrases is by Erykah Badu. She said, write it down and watch ish get real. And it's true. If you just put the pen to paper and put this goal somewhere where you can see it, whether it's your computer, your mirror every day, that can motivate you and you can hold yourself accountable to achieve this goal. And then I would say the #2 most important thing is to visualize it. If you see yourself sitting front row, or if you see yourself working at Vogue, then create a vision board. And that's something that really kept me on top of things. And then the third most important thing is I tell the world what my goals are, because other people will hold you accountable and they will ask you, so whatever happened to that fashion job that you wanted to pursue? And they'll make sure that you're held accountable and that you're going to continue to go after what you want to go after. But I would say that those are some of the first ones. And the most important one is no matter what rejection you may face, because I applied to every fashion magazine. I was told, I had rejection after rejection, told no, but I worked every day. I did something every single day towards my ultimate goal. So I started my job. I started my blog when I had this full-time job. nobody was reading Fashion Bound Daily at the time, but I remember nights, weekends, I would write something every single day. And since I started Fashion Bound Daily in 2006, I've written something weekends, holidays, it doesn't matter. Do something every single day, even if no one is watching, and continue to perfect and get better, find your niche audience, and just continue to pour into it every single day. And I really do think that eventually, if you are just consistent and persistent and focused on your goal, you will get there eventually.
Wow. I mean, there's so much to unpack there, and I totally agree with you. Writing things down, having a vision board, that's something that really helped me, like before I even had any internships in magazines. Like I cut out my name off my resume, put it on the masthead for InStyle, and I was like, one day I'm gonna work there. And
I did the same thing.
like it helps, it makes a difference to like see it, and it's also a reminder. So like I love all of those points you mentioned. It's just like so important to really, you can't be what you can't see. So you need to have a vision for your future. And I think that's so important and just like so crucial. So like Teza, can you kind of give us some of the characteristics that have helped you build your brand and, get to the point of success that you're at right now?
Totally, yeah. And I think like just speaking to what Claire just said, she really hit so many points that I agree with. But kind of just to add to it, I think like for me, the number one thing I think just to getting to your dream is just not being afraid of failure, because that's going to happen. It's inevitable. That's kind of part of the journey. And the second you like know that and you just lean on in, then it like that the weight of failure gets a little easier, because it's just going to happen all along the way so many times. And so that's my number one thing. And then just having like confidence in your idea or your dream. I think believing in it, which exactly is what, you were saying, Claire. I think just believing that your idea is amazing and powerful is like just watering the seed of your idea, because you're constantly just like, yes, this is good. I believe in this, and no one else is going to believe in it unless you do. So I think like, making sure you definitely believe in your idea, that is like number one. And then last thing I would just say, being curious and asking questions. I think like when you look at somebody that's successful or like kind of figured out part of their dream, you're thinking, gosh, that seems so crazy. How did they get there? But I think just asking as many questions as you can, you figure it. Like, I think one thing I realize is that nobody has it figured out. Everyone's still trying to figure it out once even they figure it out. So, just being that person that sends the email, sends the call, like somebody's going to answer your question and help you out. And so like just getting started right away with that is going to be so helpful.
And speaking of getting started, I want to direct this question to Kerry. I think a lot of people let their financial situation stop them and hold them back from pursuing their dreams or their goals. So I guess I wanted to ask you, can you kind of explain just the magnitude of how much funding is out there, and the fact that even if you have $1 in your bank account, like that shouldn't stop you from, making things happen. Can you speak on that a little bit for us?
Absolutely. A few comments that come to mind. So first of all, some businesses, you actually don't have to have a lot of capital to start up. So, think about what sort of business you're doing. And there are ways, to start things up without much money at all. Secondly, if you are looking for funding, there's way more funding out there and way more ways to get your hands on money than you might initially think. So right now I'm in the venture capital space, and sure, we're looking for companies that are somewhat already established, maybe already generating revenue, and of a certain size. But you don't have to be at that size to get funding. So think about it. There are all sorts of different routes you can go, whether that is, and of course I don't encourage financial irresponsibility, but you might even start out just putting things on your credit card. And I don't mean that in an irresponsible way, but that might help you if you have a clear line of sight for how you're going to use those funds, that spending to build your business. Other ways, there are a ton of grants and small business loans that you can get from banks. There are angel investors for those very early stages of business. So there are all sorts of ways. One great resource I would encourage you to check out if you're interested in kind of learning about all these different ways of financing your business would be, her name is Ariel Lauren. I believe her Instagram is 100 K incubator. I may be wrong on that, but Ariel Lauren, and she's got so many resources to help you get up to speed on exactly how you can fund your dream. The other thing I'll say is, don't feel like you have to be an overnight success. Don't feel like you have to be living your dream at age 20. I mean, I think we are living in a time where we do see that a lot in front of us, and that's great for those people. That's wonderful for them, and I applaud them. But there's also something to be said for putting in your time, both experience-wise, and also not only are you learning valuable lessons, say if you're working a corporate job for a while, but you can also be saving up yourself so that when you're ready to launch that dream, you yourself can fund that. You yourself can kind of find your purpose and fulfillment, professionally speaking. So don't feel like you have to be an overnight success at age 20 or else all is lost, right? Like there's plenty of time to make those dreams happen.
That's a really good point too, because I feel like, especially in this social media age, we're constantly seeing everyone's highlight reels, and it can be really easy to start to compare yourself, which you should not do. But I want to go back to you, Claire, and just, you touched on failure a little bit, but I feel like, especially always seeing the highs of what, everyone's showing you the good, and you don't often get to see the failure. So can you really, maybe give some words of encouragement for someone who's facing rejection right now, and what role did failure and perseverance play in helping you get to where you are today?
Yeah, failure was a huge part of my career. And I love all the points that Kerry and Teza made, but I'm 15 years in. So I started Fashion Bomb Daily in 2006. So yes, there are no overnight successes. It really does take a really long time, and it really does take you being your greatest cheerleader and not allowing other people's low estimation of you perhaps affect your self-esteem. Understanding that you have a vision and an assignment, as I always like to say, that is planted in your brain, that is just for you, specifically picked out for you to pursue. I would say that the failures for me were the rejection from most of the magazines that I would apply to. But the beautiful thing about failure is that it allows you to be creative. It allows you to be innovative. And for me, if I had gotten that job that I wanted back in the day, then I wouldn't have been able to create my own fashion magazine on my own platform and do my own thing. And my life has opened up in a way that I could have never imagined, or that it may not have ever opened up if I had gone the way that I thought that I wanted to go. So for any of the young entrepreneurs listening today, I would say to just be encouraged. If you have a dream in your heart, it's there for a reason. It is an assignment just for you. And if it doesn't happen right now, keep working on it. As I said, when I first started, I had a full-time job. I was probably doing my blog on the side, sneaking in writing during my lunch break, writing after work on the weekends for several years. It took me at least 7 years before I was able to live full-time just from blogging. And so don't take any rejection as a final. Just say it's a no for not right now, but that doesn't mean the no is permanent. So just keep going.
Amen to that. I'm a firm believer. Every no gets you closer to a yes, and it's the yes that is for you. And then, so Teza, do you have any actions or mantras or practices, daily practices or anything like that, that keep you inspired or that you swear by, that are, imperative to your daily routine?
Yes, totally. I think, gosh, I probably have more than I even realize. But I think like one thing, like I have a couple quotes that honestly, we say them all the time in our little office, just because I think they help keep us moving. But one thing is just, it's a simple thing, and it's like a voice in the back of my head, but I hear it all the time. It's just feel the fear and do it anyway. I think like every day I'm put in a situation where I'm like a little bit afraid, or like feeling out of my comfort zone, or have to make a call I don't want to make, or whatever it is. And just like, that's kind of something that helps me push through and just like make the call, send the email, whatever it is. So I think that's just like a little helpful tip. And then, something else that I think might be helpful if you're just starting out, or if you have your idea and you're not sure if it's ready yet, like something that my husband is my business partner, and we say this all the time, but like done is better than perfect. Because I think sometimes, like if you're a perfectionist or if you really want it to be just like amazing, sometimes you're like holding on to your idea for too long. And I think like it's something I've learned so much from just any product that I've created is just that like getting it out there and learning from your mistakes will make it better for the next time. And like, that's kind of how you grow, and that's how your business will grow. So just like not being afraid of just, you know, saying it's done, let's get it moving and moving on to the next thing.
Right. And then, so Kerry, you spoke a little bit about the different types of funding from grants to angels. Can you really kind of just break down, you know, what is it that a young, inspiring entrepreneur need to do in order to find the right investor for their business?
Sure. And I'll speak to this from the standpoint of mainly female entrepreneurs, because that's who I deal with. And, you know, the stats are abysmal in terms of how much funding females get. And they aren't getting better, unfortunately. They say that females got less than 3% of all VC dollars last year. In this, you know, we're living in 2021 now, but less than 3%. And I think the system, I won't get too far off on my soapbox about why that is, but traditional, you know, access to capital has been through an old school, very, you know, kind of stodgy way of doing business. But more and more, you know, I would really encourage people to look at those non-traditional ways that you can access capital. And truly, your network is your net worth, right? I used to not appreciate the value of networking when I was younger. And I don't mean, you know, going to happy hours and networking with coworkers, all that, but it's really building those relationships, whether it's online through Instagram or, you know, LinkedIn or whatever, but really taking the time to participate in conferences like this. And, you know, however you can network safely in this day and age, do it, because the best relationships I have found in terms of investor and founder have been those relationships that are organic and long-term relationships. In other words, I have connected with the founders long before they actually need funding. So when they're ready to make that leap and raise money, I already know them, they know me. We have that trust factor, that relationship already established. And those are the best sorts of relationships, because truly when you're seeking out funding and making that decision, not all money is created equal, right? I mean, it's almost like entering into a marriage commitment in some ways. They say the hardest part of marriage is the money aspect of it. Well, that's what you're doing. You're entering into a money agreement with someone. And so you want to be completely familiar with them, like them, know them, and just have that level of rapport and respect and trust. So truly, I can't emphasize enough the importance of just forming those relationships, of networking and forming those, you know, authentic connections, not with the sole purpose of getting what you need, but when you do need something, you've got those people that either they can help you or they know someone that can help you, and so on and so forth. So, you know, really never underestimate the power of networking.
I mean, I think that goes for kind of the entire industry in general, just not only when you're seeking funding. You know, I know for me, the majority of the jobs I've gotten in the fashion industry were because I knew someone who worked at the company before I applied for the job. So, you know, I think that networking in general is just so important, and not like the superficial, but really like, you know, connecting with people who you identify with and who share the same values as you. And you can, you know, it's a symbiotic relationship, and you both are, you know, have the same interests and you can help each other. So networking is definitely everything, especially in fashion. So I want to bring it back to you, Claire. This Steve Jobs quote is really just sticking out for me. And he said, "Those who are crazy enough to think they can change the world usually do." Do you agree with those sentiments? And how does that quote speak to you?
I do agree with those sentiments, but I wanted to circle back quickly to something that Kerry said about starting funding, and just let everyone know that I started Fashion Bomb Daily working off a MacBook and pirated Wi-Fi. Like I didn't even have like my actual Wi-Fi. It was a free blog spot. Instagram is free. Facebook is free. These are all free tools that you can use to start and grow your business. So it's obvious, but you really don't need much to get started. And one of my favorite quotes is, you don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started in order to be great. So wherever you are right now, just press go. And regarding your question and changing the world, I started Fashion Bomb Daily because I saw the magazines that I was reading and I didn't see enough diversity, and I wanted to be the change that I wanted to see in the industry, just extolling women from all different backgrounds, all different ages, all different sizes. And I just worked on it, even though it wasn't the cool and trendy thing to do. And now we've seen this year and also last year, you know, this is the hot button topic. This is what people are doing. So I would say to start where you are with what you have and be extremely resourceful and just march to the beat of your own drum, and the world will catch on eventually. So I totally agree with what Steve Jobs said. He's one of my inspirations and one of my favorites, but you can change the world. It might take you a few years, but you can help. Just do your little part in the overall culture to try to move things forward. That's all we can do.
Mm-hmm. And then Teza, I want to talk to you a little bit about obstacles and just how, if you've experienced any, you know, when you've ran into bumps in the road, how have you been able to kind of move forward, and how have those obstacles helped you grow and strengthen yourself personally and your business?
Totally. I think, gosh, there have been so many obstacles. Let me just say that. And I still feel like those happen daily. I'm never feeling like, wow, I've made it and this is easy. So I think, like, you know, going through those early ones, something that like sticks out to me as just a huge learning experience is like when you first launch your idea or you're getting your dream started and like it doesn't go as well as you'd hope, like that doesn't mean the idea is bad. I think like that's something that happened to me. I launched a product, everyone said it was going to be great, there was a lot of hype around it, and then like it just didn't sell very well, and I was kind of like, cool, so I just failed and that was a horrible idea. But then like fast forward 2 years later, I just feel like being persistent and patient with your idea is so important. I think like we've been saying this, but we live in a time of instant gratification and also being bombarded with so much all the time. And so, you know, we have to do a lot of storytelling and getting it in front of the right people and, you know, really believing in your idea to keep, you know, to let it grow. And I think that's just one thing that anytime I'm launching something, I'm like, if it doesn't succeed right away, that's okay. You know, it's not a bad idea. So just keep pushing.
And speaking of pushing, Kerry, you help so many women start their companies and really, you know, get their foot off of the ground. And are there any common misconceptions that, you know, you've noticed that a lot of women have, especially when they're starting out their journey and building their entrepreneurial careers?
Sure. I think it's really easy to get bogged down and think that you need to know everything. Quite the contrary. I think it's more important to know what you don't know, right? And so even if you're a founder, even if you're a CEO, don't ever get trapped by this mentality that you have to know everything. Know what you don't know, and then call on other people to fill in those holes, fill in those blind spots or gaps in knowledge and skills and expertise. Truly, that's way more important, because that's going to allow you to focus on what you're good at. So don't try to know everything. That's going to, you know, lead you astray and take you away from your kind of purpose and your strengths and what's really fulfilling to you about your business. So know what you don't know and then fill in accordingly.
I love that. Claire, so I wanted to ask you, what, in your words, what's the difference between a dream and a goal?
So a dream without goals, it's just a dream. So if you have an idea in your mind, you have to, one, believe fiercely that you can actually do this, and then set goals, whether they're daily goals, monthly goals, yearly goals, but have a plan for what you really want to do. And as I said before, you have to write it down, and don't be bogged down by the timeline or if you miss the target, as long as you're continuing to work towards it. And I do believe that once you achieve that one goal, then you get the confidence to achieve more. So yeah.
Teza, so what would you tell the you of yesterday? What would you tell like your younger self? I want to know, what's the advice that you've kind of that inspires you and keeps you going, that something that you wish knew in your earlier days when you were starting out?
For sure. I think that's honestly, for me, it's a pretty simple answer. I wish I had like a more complex answer, but it would just be to trust myself. I think like when you're at such early stages of your dream or idea, so many people are going to tell you that it's like hard to get there, or gosh, like that's difficult. And so I think I wasted a lot of time just worrying about what other people thought about my idea, but like I knew it was good. And so if I had just trusted myself sooner, could have been like further along. But I think that, that's part of the journey. But I would think like if you are confident in yourself, like trust yourself, that is so important in just getting your dream to come true.
For sure. How did you get to that point though? How did you, learn to block out that noise and to just, kind of, I guess, maybe hear the voice of your gut instinct more than the voices of everyone else?
I think like, when I kind of finally started to do it here and there, I felt I would see like many successes. And so whereas other times I was second guessing myself. And then I would like end up somewhere I wasn't trying to get. And so like in the end, I actually just knew that I knew where I needed to get. So like I would just like make a little goal and like start, of course, like when you have a big dream, it's big, it's a lot, but like make sure to also think about the small little goals that you can achieve within, and like start to understand what you're good at. And speaking of kind of what Kerry was saying earlier, I think like surrounding yourself with people that can support you in a way that, I know my strengths and what I'm good at. I also know what I'm not good at. And so as you start to grow and like you bring other people onto your team, or, you're hiring people or whatever it is, make sure those people can fill those voids, but like, you can trust yourself and your instincts, like, cause you've proven that to yourself by achieving those little goals along the way.
Awesome. And Kerry, I know that, especially for creatives and especially in this fashion industry, like it's really hard to kind of take your dream and figure out, okay, how do I make this make sense as a business? So, especially I think because we're creatives and we have so much fun, even I kind of struggled in the beginning of my career in translating some of the things that were like intrinsic to me onto my resume. So what is your advice for those who have a dream, and how can they turn that dream into an actual, revenue producing business?
Sure. Well, I'd say, first of all, if it's truly something that you're passionate about, sometimes we have to just get out of our own way, right? Like stop stopping yourself, stop thinking of reasons not to do it or why you're not the person to do it. Instead, we're fortunate to live in a day and age where we can figure things out quite easily with Google and everything else. So, figure it out. If you're not certain quite how to get from step A to step B, figure it out, whether that's, through people and resources available to you, through Googling it or whatever. I mean, we just sometimes have to get out of our own way and quit telling ourselves why we can't do something. My professional background is actually not in venture capital at all. I spent almost 20 years in a completely different industry. My education's in engineering and finance, and I worked in the energy industry for almost 20 years. But I wanted to do something I was more passionate about, but never necessarily worked in VC or thought that I would even start a venture capital firm. So, it took time. It's like, okay, so what do I have to do to set this up? I need some legal help. I need some accounting help. I need, so I figured out what it would take to make it happen. And, here we are 5 years later, and, could not imagine doing anything else. It's so fulfilling to me at this stage in my career. So again, it kind of goes to knowing what you don't know, and then just brute force figuring it out. Don't let anyone stop you, and don't stop yourself. From a practical standpoint, I would say, in terms of turning it into a business, you have to think first about what pain point are you solving. It can't just be something that you're passionate about, but rather, how is it helping other people? What problem are you solving for them? And then secondly, how do you generate revenue? I mean, ideas are great, but at the end of the day, if you're wanting to make it a business, you have to support yourself and your family and hopefully others. And so how are you going to generate revenue? So always keep that path to revenue in mind. Otherwise, it's going to be hard to have it support you and others. So you got to kind of switch from that creative mindset to that business mindset in order to have long-term sustainable success.
I love that. And I think it's so important too, just to know your worth. And if you're good at something and, people come to you for something all the time, charge them. Like, you deserve it. And I think a lot of times there's a misconception that as creatives, we have to be the starving artists, and that's not true. And let's change that narrative. So I'm gonna go ahead and go into the questions. We have a few in the chat. So guys, if you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. So I'm gonna start at the beginning. Thank you, Liz, for this question. Liz is a college student with a business, and she wants to know, what are your comments to young entrepreneurs? So Claire, do you wanna kick things off?
Yeah, I would love to kick things off. Liz, I would say to just keep going. There is something to say about the person who simply does not quit, no matter what. No matter if nobody's watching, if you have one person or 300 people following you, no matter what people say to you, again, if this is something that is in your heart to pursue, go for it. But the definition of madness is to do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. So if you're not getting the readership or the translation conversion that you would like, try new and different things. You have to diversify your business. We started off as a blog. I loved when Fashion Bomb Daily was a blog, but as everyone transitioned over to social media, we had to go to social media and post all of our content to social media. And then we evolved into events, and then we evolved into e-commerce, and we've evolved. Now we have Fashion Bomb Hair, Fashion Bomb Kids, Fashion Bomb Men, everything Fashion Bomb, So as you hit your stride, you can diversify. But the number one step is, if you believe you have a great idea, then just continue to pour into it, nurture it every single day, and continue to fine tune and hone it as you go.
Teza?
Yeah, and just to add to that, I mean, I think, but I think, to add to that, I would just say, seeing, like, you're obviously have a business, like there's something that is working there, that's great, and like focus on that, because I think so many times I started a lot of things where I wanted it to be something, but I wasn't even focusing on like what I was actually good at and what I actually created. I like envisioned something a little bit different, but almost like taking a step outside of it and trying to see it how other people would see it is really helpful, just to kind of refine your business and to understand like what your business is and how to grow it. And I think just like obviously looking at what value you're providing is super important, because I think that's something that you're confident in and that you can keep. It's like your backbone, like your story. That's like what's going to keep your business going.
Kerry?
Yeah, I think I'm trying to think what I can add to what these ladies said. They've already covered it pretty well. I'll leave it at that. That was great advice.
Yeah, it was. I hope that was helpful, Liz. Those were really great. That was a great question, and thank you, Claire and Teza. So I'll move on to Jessica. Jessica is launching a Midwest-based magazine. It's going to be biannual print and digital, and virtual community for creatives to connect, where the Midwest meets art, beauty, culture, fashion, and more, pushing back on stereotypes that the Midwest doesn't offer those things. And so her question is, what would you recommend as the best way to reach my ideal reader and creative? Social media, news outlets, brand ambassadors, and she's currently working with area arts councils. So maybe this is something you could help with as far as like connecting with the audience, Claire, or I feel like, especially growing the Fashion Bomb Daily audience, maybe you have any advice for.
Yeah, I mean, when I first started Fashion Bomb, I would go to Fashion Week, and this was back when it was at Bryant Park. I don't know if anybody remembers those days, but I would get maybe one standing room ticket to one show. And then the rest of the time I would stand in the little foyer and hand out my business card. I would take pictures of people and I would either get their business card or I would hand out my business card. And that's how I started to get word of mouth recognition and also build my newsletter. So I would say to you to go to any big events where you believe that your core audience may be and find a way to interact with people. I think taking their picture is always a great idea, and start a newsletter. Obviously, social media helps. If you tag people and hashtag, get in their DMs, don't be shy. I think that's a good way. That's something that wasn't around when I first started, but I would say exhaust every single option. I do believe there are riches in niches. So having that Midwest niche is extremely important, but also see how you're going to add to what's not there, or add to what's already there. Another one of my favorite phrases is you can only get rich by enriching the lives of others. So see how you can positively add to the discourse that's already going on in your community. And good luck.
Tessa or Kerry, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I would just say, I think like we're so lucky to have social media, and there are so many different forms of it. Like I would say get on every single platform, like see where you connect with people, try everything under the sun. Like I think that's, you'll be able to reach different audiences on different platforms like YouTube or TikTok or Instagram or a blog or Pinterest. Like I use actually all of those, not just one. And I think that's so helpful to kind of like find your right audience, and to also just be like social on the platforms. I think like not just posting, but being somebody that is commenting back to people, like really just actually being part of the social world is so helpful in just growing your community and understanding like how people interact with you, and for them to understand, who you are as and what you're trying to start. And I think that's awesome. So can't wait to check it out. But sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, excuse me. From a business standpoint, I would just say that you cannot underestimate the importance of connecting with your audience, connecting with your customers. I think now more than ever, people want to feel more of a connection when they're purchasing something than it being, purely a financial transaction, right? They want to feel that their dollars are going to something with a good purpose, or someone with something with a good founder that they relate to, that they connect with. So really, as a founder or an entrepreneur or a business builder, don't ever, neglect your community. And you don't have to have the biggest following or, the largest numbers, but go deep on those followers, go deep on that community, and really understand them and let them get to know you, so that when they do purchase something, they feel like they're connected to you in that way.
I could not agree more. Oh, I'm sorry, Claire, did you want to add something?
Just one more thing. I would say to try to be the best in your field. If you're going to launch your magazine in the Midwest, you want to be the best Midwest fashion magazine that there is, the best photography, the best writing, or the one that's updated the most or has the most thorough information. But, I always like to say, be the Beyonce of something, the Beyonce of blogging, or whatever you want to do, but always strive. And I think everybody on this panel is an example of this, of trying to be excellent and thorough in absolutely everything that you do.
And sorry, I'm just going to add one more thing because it came to but I think like one really great thing you can do is collaborate with people like in your community. I think like that's a huge way to grow and to show, obviously I think what you're doing is super niche. And so there are so many people that, you can highlight and join your communities together. And that's a great way to also, build your customer base as well.
Awesome. And so the next question comes from Lauren. It's directed at Kerry. And so she wants to know, when you're hearing pitches from entrepreneurs, what's one stat or missing link that they often leave out that turns you off as an investor?
Sure. So on a bit broader answer to that first is that I think so often as a founder and CEO, you're so busy working in your business that sometimes you feel like you need to communicate all those details in your pitch to show that you know everything, right? To show how involved you are, that you know all these little details about your business. But actually, I don't need to know all that up front. I need to know what problem you're solving, how you're solving it, and why you're the person to solve it. Okay, like what differentiates you and your approach and your business versus what's already out there. So those are some of the things I need to know. I don't need to know that the industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and if we just get this percent of this, small fraction of this billion-dollar industry, then we'll make this much. No, I mean, you can say all those numbers, but what I really want to know is what's the problem you're solving, how are you solving it, and why are you the person to go do this? Sometimes shorter is better in those sorts of things. I don't need to know all the details. Just tell me those things, and then we can dive into the details later.
Awesome, thank you. And then we have time for one more question. So does age help or hinder you? This is from, the name is Just O Styling. I am an older creative, and at times I am apprehensive due to my age. Great question.
Do you want the old person on the panel to answer? I mean, I would just encourage you. Like I said, I totally pivoted careers when I was in my late 30s. I'm 44 now. I think it's never too late. I also just had a baby. I have a 3-year-old and a newborn walking around over here. But anyway, yeah, so it's never too late. I think that, again, we're used to seeing a lot of overnight successes. And I use that term tongue in cheek. I know there's no real overnight successes, but we're used to seeing a lot of people succeed at a young age. And that's great, that's fine for them. But it's never too late for you to succeed, for you to pivot, for you to find what is going to fulfill you professionally. So, go out there and find what that is and pursue it regardless of what age that's at. I mean, you're still alive, you've still got a lot of life to live, hopefully. And so let's do it doing something that we're passionate about. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, and I can use that as your power. I'm like that. There are so many people out there that also feel that way, and so like make that part of your journey and share that. And I think not that you're afraid or anything, but I think just like share kind of like where you're at in your life, who you are, and like let that be something people can connect with, because I think that's amazing.
Totally, I could not agree more. I think that we all need to go after our dreams, no matter what age we're at, no matter how much money is in our bank account, no matter what you look like, what the industry looks like, everything is achievable for all of us. And so I want to thank each and every one of you for your amazing feedback and for answering everyone's questions. This was so inspiring and so helpful. And so now I'm going to let you all sign off so that you can make it to the next session. So thank you so much. And this is fun, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.